Good morning and welcome to today's podcast where we're looking to do an update on the business grants that have been going on right through the COVID pandemic. I'm joined this morning by Janet Sinnott. Janet will be a familiar face to all of you who have been following these podcasts over the last 12 months, where we've tried to keep everybody updated on exactly what's happening with the grants, on eligibility, what levels of funding are available, and who actually qualifies. So Janet, as we start to emerge out of lockdown, a lot of the grants are closing down. Should we talk first about what grants are coming to an end, closing down? We'll then go on to talk about, from the 1st of April, what grants are replacing them, who's eligible and what steps need to be taken to get that money. So, okay, if you want to start off really by bringing us up to date with what we've done so far and what grants will be closing as of today.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So you're right, most of the earlier schemes close at 5 o'clock today. So that's the 31st of March for anyone who's watching this later. If anyone has an application in for the schemes that are due to close because they're waiting for a business rates account, there's no need to worry because we have been given until the 30th of April to make payments. And we've reached out to those businesses to obtain applications in advance of the closing date. So what we've got closing today is the Local Restriction Support Grant Close Scheme for all periods up to the 15th of February. So business can still apply for the period 16th of Feb to the 31st of March, and they can still do that until the end of May. Also closing is the Local Restriction Support Grant Open Scheme. This was an open but impacted scheme from when we were in Tier 2 in December. It was for certain sectors and it was a discretionary scheme. What we did in Copeland was we prioritised the businesses that we felt would have been impacted the most during December when we were placed in Tier 2, such as pubs that were still allowed to open because they were serving food, cafes, accommodation and leisure businesses such as gyms and dance schools. And the final one closing today is the one referred to as the closed business lockdown payment. This was the one-off grant for between £4,000 and £9,000 that was announced in January. And it was for all those that were forced to close as a result of the January lockdown.
So as those grants come to a close later today, from tomorrow, what are the new schemes that's going to be available and who they're going to be available to?
Yeah, sure. So from tomorrow, we're going to simplify things. Fortunately, we're going to have the Restart Grant Scheme, and then we're going to have the Additional Restrictions Grant Scheme. That has been around for some time, and that's our discretionary scheme. Well, I'll cover with the Restart Grants. So this was the one that was announced in the budget on the 3rd of March. It's a grant scheme for non-essential retail, hospitality, accommodation, leisure, personal care and gym and sport businesses. It's a one-off payment and how much a business receives depends on the strand it is in. So there's going to be 2 strands. Non-essential retail will be in strand 1. Businesses with rateable values up to £15,000 will be entitled to £2,667. Businesses with rateable values between £15,000 and less than £51,000 are entitled to £4,000, and businesses with rateable values greater than £51,000 will be entitled to £6,000. Hospitality, accommodation, leisure, personal care, gym and sport businesses are being placed in strand 2. Businesses with rateable values up to £15,000 will be entitled to £8,000. If they're between 15 and less than 51, they'll be entitled to £12,000. And rateable values greater than 51,000 will be entitled to £18,000. So the purpose of the scheme is to support businesses that offer in-person services where the main service activity takes place in a fixed rate paying premises in the relevant sectors. So the business must be eligible for business rates and they must have a business rates account number. If there's mixed use that staggers across 2 strands, we'll have to determine which part of the business constitutes 50% or more before deciding where to place them on the grant amount. The business, so it's also important to note that they must be trading on the 1st of April 21 to receive the grant, which sounds like a strange thing because obviously you're closed, but for the purpose of this grant, trading means being engaged in business activity, such as having staff on furlough, trading online via click and collect, still managing your accounts, preparing for opening and preparing by implementing COVID safe measures and things like that. In addition, the government has set down some requirements for councils in advance of payment. Firstly, we need to ask some questions about the business that we've not asked in earlier grant applications. To do this, we're going to be issuing a self-declaration link by email. This will be issued either later on today or tomorrow. And we just ask businesses to, complete that as soon as they get it, and by pressing submit, that'll obviously come back through to us. And the second thing is that government has also advised councils to carry out 2 prepayment checks in advance of payment. Cannot pay until we've done these checks. The first thing we need to do is a business activity check, and the second is a bank verification check. Can't make the payments until we've done it. This is a stricter position than that taken for previous grant schemes. It will delay the payment, unfortunately, but we're doing everything we can to speed the process up. If anyone's unsure regarding eligibility or which strand they fit into, what we've placed on the website is a quick eligibility guide. So just as always, select the COVID banner at the top of the web page, copeland.gov.uk, click on the area that says support for businesses, and all our grant information is updated there. Under Restart Grant, there's a huge table, and we've put all the different businesses into the relevant categories and strands.
Excellent. Anything that we're doing now, Janet, in terms of discretionary payments, discretionary grants?
Yeah, that's right. So we're going to still have the additional restrictions grant scheme. This is mainly for businesses that are not entitled to the mandatory support that's offered by government because they don't have a business rates property, or they're still allowed to open as a result of the restrictions because they're classed as essential. We're due to make the March payment for all those that are registered with us, and we're going to make that payment today. We continue to process the top-up applications to those that we reached out to a couple of weeks ago that have got fixed rate paying properties, and we continue to take new applications for this scheme all of the time. It's open until March 22. As we've said on earlier podcasts, when the funds run out, the funds run out, but government are continuing to top it up. So just to recap regarding entitlement, the additional restrictions grant scheme is for those that are forced to close that don't pay business rates, an example of which might be a bed and breakfast that pays council tax, or those that are not forced to close but the business has been severely impacted. They might have sandwich shop in one of the town centres. Examples of other types of businesses: freelance businesses, events caterers, mobile hair and beauty, wedding event planners, transport and tourism businesses. If the business hasn't been supported by the local restriction support grant clause and will not qualify for Restart grants and has not yet applied for this additional restrictions grant fund, please do so via the website. It's all in the same area. And if you're not very good with sort of digital forms, please contact us and ask us for a paper form. We can be reached on the main council number 01946 598 300 or by email on business.rates@copeland.gov.uk.
So to any businesses who are watching this video as it goes out, Janet, what's the key messages in terms of what actions do they need to take now?
They need to look out for the link for the Restart grant, which is going to be coming later on today or tomorrow. That will provide them with access to this self-declaration area. They just need to answer the questions. It's a quick form, it should take no more than 5 minutes to complete. And just submit that form. That will come through to us. We're currently waiting for the prepayment checks to come back. So we're ahead of the game, and we've already got that moving. Submit that form. And if anybody's listening to this and they're thinking, well, we haven't had any form of support since December, and they've either got a fixed rate paying premises or they haven't, then please reach out to us, because the team are waiting to advise which area we may be able to help them in.
And you can be accessed through the website.
Everything's on the website. You know, we update the website, you know, usually within a couple of days of us receiving the guidance ourselves. So as soon as we're aware, you know, we're putting that information out, and there's tons of information in relation to support and business types and what categories they fit into. Yeah, but if you're not sure, just give us a call or email us.
Yeah, I would add to that, you know, residents' businesses can email me directly as well on mike.starkey@copeland.gov.uk. And I do pick quite a few messages that come in through the elected mayor messenger on Facebook, which are forwarded straight on to Janet and the team, which can be actioned right away. What would be a reasonable guesstimate, Janet, of when businesses could expect to see checks starting to land in their accounts?
As soon as this information comes back, we'll need a couple of days just to go through it. We might need to reach out to businesses if some of the business activity check responses require some further questions. But for all those that the response comes back as something that we're able to pay immediately, I'd like to think, you know, by the start of the second week in April, we should, you know, be in a good position to start thinking about paying some businesses, as long as those prepayment checks and you've provided that self-declaration form back to the council as well.
Well, what we've had right throughout the last 12 months at Copeland is a fantastic track record of getting these grants paid to the businesses quicker and more effectively than anywhere else in the country, and I've no doubt that will continue this time around. You know, what I would say to anybody who's watching the video today, please share it with anyone who you think this might affect or could benefit. We're trying to get the message out to make sure that everybody knows that what is available and how to go about making sure they get what they're due, and we're keen to make sure that everybody receives exactly what they're entitled to as soon as is practically possible. We very much understand how important these grants are to all the businesses, and how vital all the businesses are to rebooting the local economy going forward. Is there anything finally you would like to add, Janet, as a final message before we close down today?
I think we've covered everything. I think if they're unsure, just give us a call and, you know, email us. All the information again is on the website. But yeah, just like to say, if you haven't had some form of support, you know, you really do need to be reaching out to us, because there is something that we may be able to help you with.
Okay, thank you very much, Janet, and thanks for coming on again this morning. I'm sure everyone will find that extremely helpful.
Yeah, all right, thank you.